Let's see if some of us here can connect.
We're asking Glen, we're asking Gagan. I'm sure his TLs would have a different story altogether. I would say he was a hassle for my process. He was a guy with attitude. He wanted to wear shades. He doesn't want to dress formally. I want my guys to dress formally.
No, but as Dr. Rukshida said, that is it about the sensitivity with which the TLs need to handle it, much as the way senior executives do in other businesses?
See, it's not a flawless industry. You might get people who are not that sensitive and they might react that way.
If you don't like my face, you're going to say, "F***ing get out of my face."
Of course.
If you're
not doing any good for my process, I would say get out.
I think it's because, the team leaders don't get enough of chicks to bang there.
Is that big in this industry, sexual favors?
We're talking about not only being sexually exploited by the person at the senior level, we're also talking about a lot of physical intimacy in that age seen in the people amongst themselves, peers working with themselves. That kind of clashes with the morals and the ethics that they go home. They're essentially living in UK, when they're in workplace, and when they come home, they have a mother who expects them to get up in the morning and do the puja or touch somebody's feet, and occasionally there are problems.
There have been whispers of sexual harassment. Our next guest, Karen, has been a victim of sexual harassment while working in her call center. We'll chat with her after the break. Call center agents have non-stop conversations with strangers across 7 seas to sell products ranging from phone services, credit cards, travel packages and even sex toys. But not everyone is happy outsourcing jobs to India. In 2005, 2 radio jockeys from Philadelphia called up an Indian call center employee and abused her.
This is Tina. How may I help you?
Hi, Stina, you said?
Yes.
Yeah, I called and I just got hung up on. I'm calling from America about the quick beads for my daughter's hair. Quick beads.
Okay. May I have your zip code, please?
10274.
10274?
Yes, get it right. Now, are you in India? Because I just spoke to someone in India who hung up on me.
Okay. I am from India, ma'am.
Okay, so my call is being outsourced to India.
That's right.
Well, man, what the F would you know about an American white girl's hair and quick beads?
Just to inform you, ma'am, we are a national teleservices company, and we are just taking calls on behalf of...
Listen, bitch, don't get slick with the mouth. Don't you get slick with me, bitch.
Now, if you continue to speak this language, I'll need to disconnect the call.
Listen to me, you dirty rat eater. I'll come out there and choke the F out of you. You're a filthy rat eater. I'm calling about my American 6-year-old white girl. How dare you outsource my call? Get off the line, bitch. Oh, they listen well out there.
Why should a young girl listen to sexually offensive call and just keep saying, "Sir, I will disconnect your call if you continue," and meanwhile, you're called a rat eater, you're called a... It really hurts that person. What kind of self-esteem and what kind of an Indian are you if somebody calls you up and calls you a rat eater?
You have to learn to accept rejection. If I'm a door-to-door salesperson, I go afternoon, evening time, the person doesn't want to talk to me. He just bangs the door on my face. It's just a matter of learning that this is not personal.
Service with a smile does tend to put in a little bit more of a pressure, and it makes you feel as if, oh, I am not important and the other person is.
Making a racial call or a sexually abusive call to anyone would be a crime. You'd be in jail. Chase those guys, get their calls and file a case against them, which the BPO industry doesn't want to do because they don't want to hurt their clients, their business.
Karen, apart from racial abuse, you've been a victim of sexual harassment at a call center. What happened?
I started working in a call center when I was 18 years old. We did speak to people in the US. We did have a lot of discrimination that we went against. But despite that, we did have a lot of fun as well in our work. Here it was mainly people who ranged from around 18 years of age to max 27, 28. So you have a very young crowd, very dynamic, very outgoing, and you have a lot of outings and everything of that sort. And then I was offered this change of department. I was supposed to move from operations into training. And I was looking forward to it, but my manager was not willing to let me go till I... Can't. Sorry. Till I went ahead and I did a favor, an indecent favor. He called me into his cabin and he's like, well, He told me that, you wanted to go into training and this is the opportunity and they want you as well in training, but I don't want to let you go out of operations and stuff. And he just puts his hand on my thigh and he goes, well, you do realize that without pain there's no gain, right? And I was shocked, but I don't know. I think I've seen enough in the call center industry. People do tend to be very casual about relationships or sex or everything. I mean, there isn't much of a morality issue in place there, because it's not uncommon for people actually to sleep around in order to get their promotions or whatever it is. I mean, if you want to have an extra bio break or go for a stroll on the floor, or you don't want to take calls, you're just not in the mood, but if you're not on good terms with your team leader, or if you're not in favor with your managers or your team leaders or your project managers, you don't get it. You don't get the extra unwritten perks that go with this job. I got hit by a termination letter. With a termination letter, I wasn't told that, hey, you no longer work here or anything of that sort. I was hit with a termination letter.
Did you think of complaining?
He happened to be the only manager for the entire US operations. So
there was no one above him that you...
Yes, there wasn't anyone above him. They gave me a termination letter saying that you haven't appeared, you haven't come to work for a very long time, hence we terminate you. I approached the HR director. He's like, listen, you're a smart girl, you're intelligent, you get a job anywhere you like. I have a friend who's in another HR, who's an HR person in this other company. Why don't I talk to him and I set you up there? And I was like, it's not about that. I want my job back. I don't care. And he said, fine, I will talk to the manager. We'll set up a meeting with him. In the night, it happened around 2, 3 in the night, and this fellow came. The HR director didn't bother showing up. So it was only the manager, my team leader, myself.
At 2 in the morning?
At 2 in the morning, yeah, which wasn't like really strange, because
those are the
hours
we
operate in, right? So we were sitting across the table. They came with like sheets of paper and stuff, and they were like, see, you haven't been here for this time, and I was like, but I have been at work. So how can you say that? And they came up with loads of other issues, and we just had a fight. He just got up and he tried to slap me.
The same manager
manager. He just tried to slap me. He called for security and he said, get her thrown off the premises. At which point I said, fine. I started crying. I was really upset. I started crying. There was another HR person who was walking by. He stopped. He asked me, what's the problem? I said, see, this is what has happened. Nothing. At that time, I couldn't tell my folks at home that I've been terminated, because I was ashamed that I got terminated.
But you didn't obviously share the reason with them? Did you share the reason with your parents?
No.
Did you tell them what you were going through?
No, I didn't. It didn't occur to me, because nobody's going to be able to understand it, because I wasn't able to figure it out myself.
Dr. Rukshita, what sort of an effect can this have on a young girl's mind like Karen?
It does leave a lasting impression on them. They do have problems with their future relationships, and especially with more intimate relationships.
And in the workplace?
Either they become very submissive or very, very mild and meek, and they wouldn't really stand up for their rights, and their self-esteem takes a beating. Or they could become more cynical and more harsh and not really gently liked, because they're still struggling with their own identity and their own, what did I do to invite it?
They know you're a labor lawyer and the head of Young Professionals Collective. You help call center employees when they face cases of any harassment or exploitation. So when Karen came to you, what was your reaction and what did you advise her?
My first reaction was that this is such a sophisticated industry, and Karen is a very educated girl. And she's very confident that if it can happen with Karen, imagine the number of women who come to this city from small towns, who stay in hostels, and what must be happening there. So basically I advised her that we have to take this up. Let me send them a legal notice. You cannot be terminated without being given an opportunity. This is illegal. But what's happening is most of the call centers and the BPOs, they consider themselves to be outside the labor laws. You're talking of an average age of 18 to 24, where employees don't know their rights. They don't know when they're being hit at. But this happens in all industries. It's not that the BPO industry is specific.
Karen, will you take up a job with the call center again?
It's not for me. Not right now. I'm not saying call centers are bad. All I'm trying to say is maybe call centers need to take up certain measures to restrict what the managers do. The employees are left wide open to any amount of abuse. My colleagues who were working in the same call center at the time, they said, forget it, that company has loads of money. They're getting like American dollars, they're rich, and they're mean, and they have too much money, they're too powerful, they know people all over the place.